Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. I don't know if you saw the last video, but all it was basically me just throwing the turbo on to see what it looks like. So I had to kind of mock some stuff up, like the intercooler and the turbo, just to see what I needed to have made, because I wanted to have it made for this video. That way we could just do the whole thing in this video. So don't be discouraged. All I have done, I mean, you can go check out that last video to see what I did, but all I did was take off the exhaust manifold, put the new turbo manifold on with the turbo on it, and put the intercooler piping on. Or not all the intercooler piping. I put one pipe on to see kind of where it laid and to kind of figure out how we were going to mount the intercooler. So this video is going to be the entire turbo build, beginning to end. I hope this thing is running by the end of this video. So right now, I just got a little bit of time earlier in the week. So I wanted to go ahead and get this oil pan pulled so that I can have the 10AN bung welded into it. So if you guys don't know, the turbo has to drain the oil down into the oil pan, and it is a 10AN fitting. Let me pop this hood. So like here is your oil feed, and then here is your oil drain. So that is going to come out and go right into the oil pan right there. So I need to get that oil pan off, and I need to get it all cleaned up so I can give it to Landon and have him weld it. So that's what we're going to do right now. Alright guys, let me show you what's going on here. So we just got the oil pan off, and since I'm going to have this off for a few days and it's going to be outside, I went ahead and just fastened like a Kroger bag up there just to keep everything closed off. Not really for leaking, but just to keep everything off. Here's the oil pan. It is very dirty. It was leaking all around it. So what I'm going to do now is use some super clean and clean that off real good before I give it to Landon, and then I'll show you guys the bung and where we're going to put it. Alright guys, so I just shot this, but I did not have the mic plugged in. So basically what we're doing now is we got the oil pan cleaned up, and I have to get this hole drilled in this oil pan so that I can have this bung welded in tomorrow at work. Today is Thursday, and tomorrow's obviously Friday, so it's my last day to take it to work and have our fabricators weld it, because I'm really hoping to start this car this weekend for you guys and me. So anyway, you want to place this bung up towards the top of the pan just to really make sure that it's above the oil level so that it has optimal drainage down into the pan. So you'll see here where we're going to place it. I was going to have Landon weld this in, but something came up to where he could not receive this pan tonight and take it to work to weld tonight. So that's why I'm using the fabricators at work. But don't worry, you guys will get plenty of Landon's welding on the exhaust in hopefully the next video. But anyway, let's go ahead and drill this hole out. I've just got a hole saw here, and then once we do that, I'm going to grind away some of the coating to make it easier to be just welded real quick tomorrow at work. Alright guys, here is the bung welded in. Looks pretty good. So now we are going to throw this back in the car, but first I'm going to clean up this surface a little bit, clean up the pan a little bit just to make sure there's nothing in there. Then we'll throw it in the car. Alright, so we got to get this old oil pan off first. Hopefully without getting oil everywhere. If I was smart, I'd poke a hole in the bottom of this bag and drain it into there, but I'm not smart. So unlike a lot of cars, this pan uses an actual rubber gasket. So I'm afraid it's gonna leak, but I'm gonna try to use this just so we don't have to deal with like gasket sealer when we wanna take this off again, if for any reason we do, maybe when we blow it up because we're making too much boost. Anyway, I'm gonna run with this for now. If it leaks, I'll take it all back off and put gasket sealer on. Alright guys, we're done with that. We got the oil pan torqued down to 8 foot-pounds. Now we need to do an oil filter. So while we're doing an oil filter, we're going to do our turbo oil feed line, which is going to consist of this glow shift sandwich plate, which will be linked down below. So while we do, or before we do that, we need to put all of the fittings on this. So you can see this is going to thread up into the block, and then you've got the stud down there that your oil filter threads into. It's got all these different ports around it. Come on. got all these different ports around it, so we're only going to use one for now. It'll be nice when we want to do the like oil pressure and oil temp or whatever, because then we can just tie right into there. So we've got all these plugs, and we're gonna put the oil feed right into the front of it here. Make sure it all threads up right. Yeah. So before we do all that, we're going to put all these plugs in, but we need to use Teflon tape for that. Don't forget your Teflon tape. I know you guys won't be able to see much, but just know I'm doing the oil filter. Alright guys, so I think we are ready to put the turbo on the final time before our first start. Let's throw together our AN line for this drain. I've never done AN line before, so this will be a first, but I'm going to cut it because my end is kind of frayed out. So I just put a bunch of electrical tape on there, just to hold all the, make sure it doesn't really fray much. And then we're going to take our cutoff wheel and just cut it. Okay. Just like that. That rubber does stink. So let's go ahead, that's going to be a little warm, take that off, as well as our electrical tape. Okay. Now take your AN fitting and put all that in there. Twist it on a little bit, and you can see that. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. Well, believe me, the hose is going up to the threaded part. Now, take this and lube up your barb a little bit here. I'm just using Croil. Just so that is able to slide in. Now you really want to watch here to make sure your hose doesn't back out at all. I'm going to actually put some electrical tape on it, just so I can really be able to tell if it does, because I don't want it to leak. Okay. Now I'm going to put this in the vise with a rag to try not to scratch it all up. Then tighten this down. There you go. So now we're going to go put our turbo on and figure out where to cut this drain line. I thought I was gonna have to take that back off, which I might. Alright guys, so we're gonna come out of the turbo. That fitting's like right there behind the frame, and that fitting in the drain pan, you can kind of see the nub right down there. So that's where we're going. You're probably not going to be able to see it very well. So right here's where we're going to cut it. So I'll go cut this side now. As you can see, I put a bunch of electrical tape on there just to hold it together. So I'll go do this side. You guys already saw this side, so I'm not going to show that again. But let's go ahead and knock that out. Alright, let me go ahead and show you this drain. So here's the turbo. There's our line. And it goes down right into our oil pan, right in there. So that looks good, fits perfect. Let's go ahead and throw our take our turbo back off, throw our wastegate on, and then I think we're ready to put the turbo back on for good. Let's throw on our wastegate here. It came with two of these spacer things. If you guys know what this is, if it's important, let me know, because I really don't know what it's for. I don't know if it's just for clearance or what, but I personally am not going to run it right off the bat. So now, the wastegate came with some ports, vacuum ports. I am honestly not 100% sure where they go. I think I tee it back. You can either tee it into the turbo housing or you can tee it into the intake manifold. I don't have a turbo housing port, so I'm going to put it into the intake manifold, but let me look up real quick which one to run to the intake manifold. Alright guys, so my Rev 9 wastegate has 4 vacuum ports on it. I've got, it came with 2 plugs and 2 vacuum fittings. To my understanding, you can run the top ports to a boost controller, and the bottom port is the one you want to run to your vacuum on your either your turbo or your intake manifold. So I'm going to use all my plugs and all my ports, and I'm gonna put a vacuum cap on one of my ports so that it obviously does not leak. So there's how that'll look. And then I've got these vacuum ports, or vacuum caps. So we're gonna put one on here. Unless, I might be wrong, this might need to be open. But I will update you guys accordingly. All right, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm gonna leave this port open. I think the top needs to vent to atmosphere. So I am leaving that one open. This one will run back, will tee into our intake manifold. But we're gonna have to go get a tee and some vacuum line tomorrow. I'm gonna go ahead and put the dump tube on, just so we're not fighting that when it's on the car. Now when you put these on, you don't want to kill it because you've got a crush gasket in there, and you don't want to completely just crush that, even though it's called a crush gasket. So let's go ahead and put all this back on the car, hopefully for the final time. I know I've said that like 3 times already, but let's go ahead and put it back on the car. 23 foot-pounds. Wrong size. Alright guys, so I ran out of camera battery last night, but I didn't really do anything else once it died. All I did was connect our oil feed right here, and this oil feed, this little plate right here has a very small like pinhole in it because you don't need much oil running into these turbos. So we did that. Here's our wastegate. I do think I'm going to turn that wastegate around because if you look, that is right where I want my exhaust to run down, so I'm just going to turn the whole wastegate around and run that pipe on the other side. I might need to wrap that line with some heat tape just to make sure it don't burn, but that is the plan. Also, we need to make sure it does not get in the way of the intercooler piping, so that's what I'm going to do now, is go ahead and mount up the intercooler where I think it should go and run the piping. So what we're going to do is we are going to weld some small pieces of angle to the bottom of this and run and drill some holes in it to bolt right to the bottom of the intercooler. Alright guys, we are ready to start it, I think. We're not completely done. The intercooler is not completely hooked up. We don't have an exhaust on it, but I said I wanted to start it in this video, so we are going to go ahead and start it. So let's do that. Just watch kind of underneath of it too. Alright guys, it is later in the day, but we did get the Civic. Oh, you just saw it start, so that's all I got for you guys in this video today. I know it's kind of chopped up, but we got the turbo kit 85% done. So we still got to do the intercooler the entire way. We have to get the fuel management unit, which I don't know what I'm going to do about that because it's on its way, but you know, it's gonna take a while. What else we got? I know there's more. Oh, the exhaust. So I'm gonna have to order some exhaust and then fabricate that. So let me kind of show you here. All right, so for our intercooler, what we have, you can see how that's pointing that way, and right there is the one we got to connect to. So I'm going to get a 45-degree boot, and I also need to cut the one we have and then bead roll it. So I'm going to have to get a 45-degree boot and a bead roller, and then exhaust right there. I'm going to go down through there, so I'm going to need to get that wastegate dump tube out of the way. I'm probably going to just try to turn that around. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is something I've been wanting to do for a very long time, like I said before. So if you enjoyed this, please do me a favor and like and comment and subscribe, because that's the only reason I'm going to be able to do more of this in the future. So if you don't mind, help me out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and look out for the next episode on this turbo series.